Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I hope you all are doing well. Today's topic is about why I believe narcissists have a difficult time letting go of their relationships. But first, I wanted to talk about why I felt the need to step back from Love and Marriage Huntsville commentary. When I first started my channel a few months ago, and I've studied this many times, I wanted to advocate for Melody and speak on behalf of women who were going through what Melody was experiencing as far as dealing with an abusive, narcissistic partner. And I did this because I felt like a lot of the feedback that I was hearing from the audience and other content creators was not really sensitive to or empathetic to what Melody was experiencing. They were only reacting and responding to how she was reacting and responding to Martel's abuse. So I felt the need to start my platform to basically share things from her perspective, because I have witnessed narcissistic relationships before, and I've also been in a couple. So I understood what Melody was going through at the time. And since I started my channel, and my OG subscribers do know this, my original channel was called The Wounded Womb, Mind of Lilith. It's still available on YouTube. I discussed some of the challenges that I had with being on social media and using my voice in this way, giving energy to people and situations that are not positive. I had a little rant back in January after Ariane did her interview with Tasha K, and I was upset about the fact that we were giving this girl so much attention. And I was like, if we're giving this girl attention, we're just going to embolden her and give her more power, more clout, and more visibility. And as a community, I feel like we have rewarded bad behavior from women and men by, giving these people platforms on social media and on TV, allowing the worst of ourselves to represent us. So I was like, okay, why am I still talking about this girl? I don't want to talk about her anymore. But then my audience was like, well, you're really helping us figure out what is happening here. We don't know what's going on. And so I was like, okay, maybe if I'm helping, then I can justify giving these people with really poor character some attention. But in the midst of the compromise, it's always something that I've, been conflicted with. Am I giving attention to something negative? And is my attention making things worse, right? Is my voice being used to fuel hatred and dissension among the cast members and even the audience, right? The audience to the cast members, the audience to each other, among the cast members themselves. Like, am I helping or am I hurting? That's the question that I'm asking myself, and I've been asking myself from the very beginning. So, over the past several months, we have seen the audience kind of take a role in being a part of the show, right? We've seen some people dig up Tisha's past, and we've seen some people mainly in the audience, we've seen them celebrate the idea of Ariane getting beaten up, right? A couple weeks ago, whatever. I don't want anybody on this show to get hurt. And what I'm concerned about is Melody's success being weaponized against the cast members, because it's not helping anything to foster unnecessary competitiveness and cattiness and pettiness among the cast members, right? I don't want that to happen. My commentary about Martel was basically highlighting the things that he had done wrong in his marriage, right? And why he had done those things, and why Melody was reacting to him the way that she was. But I never wanted Martel to be this piñata, right? Or Ariane or anybody else on this show to be some sort of piñata for the audience to just beat up on whenever. Now, what makes this situation complicated is the fact that Martel is still doing things to Melody. He hasn't stopped antagonizing her, right? And it seems like nobody on the show wants to put a stop to it for obvious reasons. It gets more views and it gets more audience engagement. So the show picks up traction when there's fighting amongst the audience and the cast, right? So nobody's going to stop it. So I feel like in order for me to help kind of turn the heat down a little bit, I have to pull back on commenting on certain things, or I have to change the way that I discuss this show. If I discuss this show in a certain way, it's going to add more fuel to the fire, and the audience is just going to use that as an excuse to continue to attack Martel, even as he continues to attack Melody, right? is just really messy and gnarly all the way around for me. Because the cast is attacking each other. The audience is attacking the cast. The audience is attacking each other. It's like something has to change. There has to be some reflection and some detachment from the characters on this show. Melody does not need anybody to hate Martell for her. Somebody, wrote a petition a few days ago to get Martell off the show. And I was like, I understand why they're doing it. And I'm surprised it wasn't done earlier, especially after season 2. But a part of me was like, I don't want this man to lose his primary source of income with 5 children, because he's just going to blame Melody more for this. And this is going to make things worse for Melody. A lot of women don't understand how dangerous a narcissist is when his back is against the wall and he feels like he's losing everything. So Martell losing the income from the show, to me, could be even more harmful to Melody, which is why I wasn't really in support of it. But I do understand why it was written, and I think that Martell needs to be in serious therapy, and there should be a conversation among the cast and producers of the show and even the network about the show's marketability and advertising revenue. If you have a man that is an abuser of women on the show, not physical abuse, but verbal and emotional and psychological abuse, is that show advertiser friendly? So I'm sure this conversation will be had at some point in the near future. I just did not feel comfortable with supporting Martell losing his main source of income, because I know that if he did lose his income because of that petition, he was going to blame Melody and her followers for doing that, and that could make things worse for her. So to protect her, unfortunately, we have to protect the narcissist, and this is what usually happens when we get involved with narcissists. We have to make really tough short-term decisions or compromises to protect our peace, our safety, and our sanity. And this is one of the reasons why Melody stayed married to Martell for so long. She knew that without her, he would pretty much have nothing, or he would fall flat on his face. And she mentioned this in season 1 and early in season 2. So while I do think the audience wants to help Melody, they have to understand that this is a very sensitive situation for her. And Martell is in her life. She knows him. She has to deal with him every single day. So the actions that the audience is taking on her behalf is going to affect her more than it affects the audience. And they have to be cognizant of that. But now on to my topic about why I believe narcissists have a difficult time letting go of their relationships. Narcissists don't have a sense of identity. They have very low self-esteem, and their ego has been destroyed. So they create an alter ego to live through in order to navigate in society and to cultivate these superficial relationships that they need for narcissistic supply. Why do narcissists have a difficult time being alone? Because they don't exist if they're alone. Their identity comes from being in relationship to others, right? And this can happen for several reasons. There could be verbal abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, coddling, not being disciplined as a child, or being allowed to do whatever they want to do whenever they feel like it. There are many reasons why a person's sense of identity could be destroyed, okay? And what happens with narcissists is that when you meet them, right, they approach you and they basically use tricks to bait you into a relationship with them. They say whatever you want to hear. They'll give you great sex. They'll be attentive to you, right? So that you can project an image onto them that is a reflection of who they want to be, right? So your projection of who you want the narcissist to be becomes the narcissist's identity. And when you take that away from the narcissist by pulling your energy back from them, in essence, you're killing a part of them. And sometimes they want to kill you in order to maintain the fantasy of whatever projection you had of them when you first met them. So they kind of step into whatever identity you've created for them based on the fantasies that you have within yourself. And this is why I talk about Neptunian relationships and how dangerous they are. And this is why Neptune is associated with not only self-sacrifice, but also narcissism. That's the other extreme, because it's about projection. It's about an illusion and a fantasy of who you are based on some sort of psychological or emotional distortion as a result of being traumatized or abused, right? And I talked about this with Arion and Martel as well. Martel was the projection of Arion's fantasies. So even though he's abusing her and treating her like crap, letting him go is very difficult for her because in essence, this relationship with him has become her entire identity, and vice versa. Martel's relationship with Arion has become a part of his identity as well. So it's difficult for them to let go of each other because without this dynamic between them, they will cease to exist and they need to find another source of supply quickly before they move on to the next. I don't think that Arion is a narcissist. I do think that she suffers from BPD. I could be wrong, but that's just me speculating here. That's not me diagnosing anybody. The same thing with Martel. I think he suffers from NPD, which is why he's so attracted and drawn to her, because NPDs and BPDs both suffer from separation anxiety and a lack of individuation. They don't have a sense of self that can anchor them and give them some sort of moral code. They become whoever they need to be in order to survive in the situation that they're in. So a narcissist will manipulate and abuse their partner in order to maintain supply, because without that abuse, they have no identity. I have to give you Stockholm syndrome in order to force you to stay with me. I have to abuse you to the point where you don't even know who you are, right? And once you lose your sense of self, because I've been abusing you psychologically, emotionally, and physically, it is easier for me to put you on like a jacket and to wear your identity as my own and to use your gifts and your abilities and your love and your attention and your sense of self that you came to the relationship with. It's easier for me to put that on now because you've basically sacrificed yourself to hold on to a relationship based on an ideal, based on a fantasy, an illusion, the potential of what this man could be based on his deception and based on your projection. Deception plus projection equals abuse and heartbreak. Most relationships we have these days are one or the other. Somebody's projecting and somebody's deceiving. Okay, I'm going to show up the way that I think I'm supposed to show up in order for you to believe that I'm something that I'm not, right? And based on this fantasy and illusion that I've created within you, I can live through that because you're giving me energy. You are giving my avatar or my alter ego life because I'm planting seeds of deception within you, and you are growing those seeds into an entity, which is the relationship. When you reciprocate somebody's energy, right, by giving them attention, time, resources, and sex, you are creating a relationship that becomes its own entity with its own energy signature. In astrology, this is the composite chart. The composite chart basically illustrates how two or more people create a third entity, how their energies interact to create another energy. What is the energetic imprint of the relationship? What are the major themes of the relationship? How does your relationship affect the people around you? And so on. So when you are dealing with a narcissist and you're believing the bull crap that he's telling you because it is in alignment with whatever fantasy you have of who you want him to be, right, based on your own trauma, you're essentially creating an avatar for him to step into, which ultimately is used to validate his very existence. So when you regret your decision and you want to pull your energy back because you realize the narcissist is just an empty suit, he's just an avatar, he's an idea, he doesn't really exist. When you want to pull your energy back, the narcissist becomes desperate. They become desperate and they want to hold on to you by any means necessary. Not because they love you, but because they love the idea or the illusion that you've projected onto them, that you've created for them. This avatar being, right, that is perfect and muscular and handsome and got a good job and he's smart, he's all this and that. They need you to hold on to that idea or that fantasy of them in order to feel validated, right? In order to feel like they exist. Without that, they're nothing. Without that, they're literally empty, insecure, broken people who hate themselves and everyone around them because they don't know who they are. And Martel alluded to this when he said that it's good to have someone believe in you more than you believe in yourself, right? So this is what Melody had done for him. And look at how he treated her. He treated her as if she should be grateful that he is still with her, even though she's the one who helped to elevate him. Martel got upset because his trophy, Melody, started to have a mind of its own, right? A trophy is a representation of someone's success, of someone's skill, of someone's power, right? Of someone's ability to excel over others, okay? The trophy is supposed to make the trophy holder look good. The trophy is not supposed to have its own identity and be autonomous and have its own life and its own goals and its own success. No, the trophy is supposed to make the narcissist look good. You're only here to make me look good. So if you start shining or outshining me, if the trophy starts to outshine the trophy holder, then it becomes the problem, because now I can no longer use this trophy to validate who I am. Okay, the trophy is making me look dusty. So the trophy is making me look dusty, and I can't have that. So I need to do something to put the trophy back in its place. And its place is in my hand, within my control, right? I'm grabbing the trophy by its waist. I'm lifting it up. I'm putting it down. I'm putting it where I want to put it. I have complete control of the trophy. The trophy does not have control over itself. Once the trophy becomes autonomous and it has a mind of its own and it wants to do its own thing, then the trophy is no longer a trophy. It is a competition for me. But I'll expound on that another time. But yeah, a lot of narcissists, well, most narcissists, and not all of them, they need their partners or their jobs to feel fulfilled within themselves. They don't have an identity unless they're accomplishing something and getting praise for it, or they need sexual partners in order to feel validated, right? There are a lot of narcissists who are cerebral narcissists and they work all day. They don't have any sexual partners at all. They work constantly. Their job is their lover, right? Their career becomes their lover. They may have a couple of flings here and there, but by and large, it's about their work, right? And there are narcissists who need to have sex with random people and who don't feel valuable unless they're having random partners for new supply. So it is what it is. Like, we have to be really careful about who we give our attention to, because we're essentially creating a child with someone, even if we're not having sex with them. The intermingling of energies creates a whole new entity. And again, the narcissist steps into that being, that avatar that you've created, right? That you both created. He presented something and you fell for it because you wanted to fall for it. It's not always the case, but a lot of women fall for the fantasy because they wanted to fall for the fantasy. They wanted to live in a fantastical life that wasn't realistic. So they're going to project characteristics and traits onto somebody who really ain't shit, because that's what they want for themselves. They want a man who has certain qualities. And so because they want a man who has those qualities to feel better about themselves, they will project that onto somebody who does not have those qualities. And then the narcissist steps into that projection, and then he becomes really dangerous and really unhinged when you pull that back from him, because you're basically destroying his identity that you created. He didn't believe in himself until he met you, right? He didn't think he was attractive until he met you, right? He didn't have any goals until he met you. He didn't love himself until he met you. You projected all those qualities onto him. He steps into that role. That's not who he really is. So it's not comfortable for him. So he feels insecure. And then he needs to abuse you to keep you tethered to the idea of whatever projection you've created of him. Most times, narcissists start to abuse you because they're afraid that you're going to see them for who they really are. They're afraid that you're going to see that their value comes from you, right? And if their value comes from you, what are they there for? What are they bringing to the table besides penis and broken promises, right? So in order to maintain control of the situation, they will start to hurt you and manipulate you and abuse you to destroy your self-esteem, to destroy your identity, so that they can continue to live in this avatar, right? So because now you're so fucked up in the head and emotionally, you don't want to lose them, you're going to keep the avatar alive for yourself too. He's not that bad. Yes, he treats me like shit, but guess what? I love him. More projections, more fantasies. So he's going to abuse you to the point where you want to hold on to the fantasy yourself, because now all this wasn't for naught. Yes, he treats me like shit, but I love him. He's handsome. He's the father of my kids. We got homes together. We're married, whatever the case may be. This is what happens to a lot of women who are dealing with narcissists. The narcissist knows how to weaponize your love against you to sustain themselves. A few months ago, I talked about how Black people have been infected with a white supremacist toxoplasmosis that basically turns us against ourselves for the benefit of the parasite. The narcissist is pretty much the same thing. The narcissist will turn you into a weapon against yourself in order to sustain the narcissist. So you're going to do things against your own best interests to maintain the narcissist's quality of life, their comfort, their standard of living. Whatever they need, you're going to accommodate them. You're even going to suspend your own happiness to make sure that you don't hurt the narcissist's feelings, even as they're killing you emotionally and spiritually, and even physically sometimes. Some women will be with narcissists until they die, right? They'll allow the narcissist to beat them to death because they don't want the narcissist to kill themselves. He told me that he's going to kill himself if I leave him, so I'm going to stay with him so that he can kill me, because I value his life more than I value my own. And I value his life more than I value my own because we've merged identities. The narcissist stepped into the fantasy that I've created and is using my very creation to destroy me. That's why the victim can't leave or the narcissist can't leave, because they're both in the fantasy together. They're both in the fantasy together. Even though the victim doesn't have a malicious intent, the narcissist does. And so the narcissist has to find someone that is willing to sacrifice their identity and their being in order to live in a fantasy that has been created by their trauma. And this is where Neptune comes in. And I mentioned this before when I talked about Ariane and Martel's relationship. Martel is a manifestation of Ariane's deepest desires that have been cultivated because of trauma. Okay? Abuse, loss, lack, fear, humiliation, abandonment, whatever, right? Based on those issues that have not been resolved, we are now attracting partners to ourselves, or we are allowing ourselves to enter in and stay in relationships with individuals who have become avatars or physical manifestations of our trauma. So one of the reasons why the narcissist can't let you go is because they're living within your psychological projection of who you want them to be. And some people call this a soul tie. Some people call this a karmic partner. Even though you may not be a narcissist, your energy is resonating with a narcissist because they're a projection of your deepest, darkest fantasies. And I'm going to leave it there. This is part 1 of my commentary. I'm pretty much freestyling it. I'm not reading from any notes, so I know there are many things that I've missed. However, I'm going to incorporate you guys' feedback into future explorations of this topic. Okay? All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.